let's move to the second pick. It would be Mark Sessler.
Well, this is easy for me. And I'm glad it's still sitting here. I didn't think it would be. But I'm going to take Niners at Rams.
It's time for Battles 1 presented by the United States Marine Corps.
And I think we kind of just assumed that the Rams are going to fix the problems. I'm not so sure about that one because I think their issues obviously are along the offensive line. You now have Joe Noteboom out of the mix. It does sound like Brian Allen, the center, will be back, which is big for Matthew Stafford because when they faced the Niners last time, that's when they lost them. And you're dealing with Matthew Stafford and a center he had never played with, even in practice. And Stafford having to call protections at the line, that game turned so chaotic. And it was just another notation in the Niners-Rams confrontations where the Niners just have simply dominated the Rams. It's got to annoy Sean McVay to such a high level to be dominated by Kyle Shanahan this way. I think this is LA's season right here. If you lose this thing, I do, because I know I understand they're in a bad division.
They're 3-3, but
I understand they're in a bad division, but if you get dominated by the Niners again, I wonder if it changes their complexion on who they might trade for, trade deadline-wise, or who they might give away, and what they do. I get that you're still alive, but I would have a tough time believing in a Rams team that cannot get past this team. And I don't know what their problems are, if they're fixable. I just don't know if they're fixable.
Yeah, I need to see it. I don't assume they're going to fix everything. I don't think they'll turn into sellers or not be as aggressive. If they lost this game, they're going to maybe be more aggressive or just as aggressive because I just think they're all in, and that's what they do. And it wouldn't surprise me to see them pick up a receiver. Maybe Brandon Cooks, when Mike Garafolo threw that out on Tuesday's show, that like old teams still like him. I'm like, okay, that's specific, and that's about right now.
They're
it
limited.
Could be Brandon Cooks and the Rams.
Yeah, they're limited
sense.
in terms of their assets, draft assets, because they've traded so much in recent years. But they'll find a way, and they will add somebody. That's what this Rams regime is all about. And they see that the NFC West has been hugely disappointing, themselves included. The division's there, which means there's a path. Even if you don't get the bye this year, there's a path to a home game. And in the playoffs, and then who knows, you get hot. So they're going to make a move. It just depends what it is, whether it's adding a lineman, offensive lineman, a pass rusher, a wide receiver, maybe all three. I don't put anything past them. They're hyper-aggressive.
It does help. Van Jefferson is healthy again, too, so it sounds like he will be back.
Oh, so he will play. And I think they made a little bit of a change in the game against the Panthers that's worth watching. Stafford was 10 for 10 under center in that game for 142 yards and a touchdown. The second half of that game I thought was the best half their offense had all year. And under center is more the old school Rams. It's the Jared Goff Rams. Play action, simplify things, make it a little easier on the quarterback and maybe on the offensive line as well. And he played well in that scenario because one thing we've been hesitant to do on this show is criticize Stafford too much because of the situation, but he has one of the worst grades on PFF, one of the worst numbers from any metrics when he has a clean pocket. He hasn't just struggled when the offensive line struggled. He's just struggled. And that game against the 49ers obviously was probably the nadir.
Yes, it was.
I think there's some
nadir.
For me, anyway, the idea that, yes, it was the nadir. I do like that.
You know Greg planned that line.
I totally did not. You think I
nadir. I built in some accident forgiveness with Stafford because I remember how lost they were last November, and then they're hoisting the Lombardi, and he's playing at a superstar level in the postseason or in the Super Bowl. So I'm not ready to bail. I don't think this is a winner or you're in your screwed situation, but I think it could reshape their season if they could, get one on Kyle and also build on the end of their previous game against Carolina, because they really did look like the Rams at the end
in
of that game.
Carolina game, though, I will note that like Christian McCaffrey, here we go, prime time. The Niners have another week to kind of bake him into the plan. He had 158 scrimmage yards against that Rams defense with a bad Panthers offense.
Ooh,
so
that's a good point.
I would like to see what impact he has on this. I think they're going to use him in a ton of different ways.
You mentioned how the 49ers own them, and the 49ers are coming off a very humbling loss for a team that thought they were going to be all about defense. I know the Chiefs are good on offense, but they made the Chiefs look better on offense than anyone, I guess, since week one and the Cardinals. The 49ers have won 7 out of their last 8 against the Rams. Now, the one that they lost was the biggest one, the NFC Championship. But even that game took Jimmy Garoppolo with a shoulder that required surgery and a 10-point fourth quarter comeback. So they just have the Rams number. It's a fair statement, and I thought about locking this game up, but that just felt hurtful to to my daughter Ellis.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission products. We're a fiduciary obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we do better when our clients do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Everyone loves an underdog story. You know why? Because it fills you with hope, makes you believe, right? Hold on now. Did you say any team? So now I can bet the overdog for underdog odds? Team Overdog, where you at? Let me hear you.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet just $5 to win $200 if your team wins. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
No two dreams are the same. But there is one van equipped to handle them all. For over 120 years, Mercedes-Benz vans have been built, upfitted, and ready to go. Because we believe dreams should never stay that way.
Bum, 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 bum.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. The technology inside, the technology that moves the world. Intel.
This is NFL Plus, and this is for the Sunday shifters, the game time babysitters, the cross-country long haulers, and the poolside ballers. This is for the OT stay-up-all-nighters, the never-miss-a-moment ride-or-diers, for the casual fan, the obsessed fan, for every fan. This is the NFL in your hand. Live games, replays, films, and shows. This is NFL Plus, your game on the go. NFL Plus. Start your free trial today.
At Men's Warehouse, we'll help you look your best for wedding season. We'll help groomsmen look more groomed, proud fathers look more proud, officiants look more official, and best friends look better than ever. Men's Warehouse. Love the way you look.
Owen, when you came into my life, it was a whirlwind.
I just can't do it.
We didn't know what the future would hold, but we knew you would always be a part of it. Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I am so proud to call you my son.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
It's the old Zeusers pick, and I will go with the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Minneapolis to face the Minnesota Vikings.
How dare you?
Ooh, always feels good to hurt your friends in this exercise. The Vikings coming off a bye, 5-1, and you'd say, okay, there you go. Well, Dan, you're looking for great teams. Oh, there's a 5-1 team. No. Vikings right now are not great. They're pretty good. They've been good at closing games. The schedule overall has been pretty forgiving. I mean, here's their wins. Green Bay week 1, and now we know.
Means less now.
Means less. They got waxed by Philly in primetime.
That feels right.
Barely beat the Lions.
That was a game they were outplayed completely for most of the game.
Right. Lost to New Orleans by a field goal, and then beat Chicago by 7, and beat Miami with a third-string quarterback by 8. So
we beat New Orleans in London. We were there. You were there.
Yeah, it says L. What is going on here? I thought so. That was the Will Lutz double doink game. What's going on? Here we go. Arizona Cardinals now coming off a game where they put up. They did, right? Am I going crazy?
I mean, I don't feel the need to, put Yeah, the blame on them there.
I didn't put the blame on anybody. I'm just it says L next to it.
If Johnny from research, Drew Christensen, who's in the back here, used to work in the research. If he happened to be the person that put together this page and happens to be a fan and was listening, he's dying inside right now. So,
they beat the Saints 28-25. So I hope they.
But I just did.
I think you did. I want to say that the NFL Media Research team is incredible.
They do an excellent job,
and I love their work, and I use it constantly in the ramp up to each week.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
In this case, I got banged a little bit. But that's
okay.
my problem. I was at the game in London.
Right.
I shouldn't have stumbled on that.
Yeah, this is something that also could have been handled in-house versus going very publicly.
But that was more, it was kind of like in real time it was all happening. I was spinning out.
I could see you reacting to it in real time.
Because it didn't make sense in my head even.
Right.
And I'm staring at that red L.
And we did have jet lag coming back. It could have been, unlike Russell Wilson, it's something we could maybe have been fall susceptible to.
And that was our Cardinals-Vikings preview.
All right, let's move on. No, so the Cardinals, the reason I took this game, the Cardinals have not been my favorite team to watch this year. In general, the regime is not something that I believe in. And yet, the Thursday night game was interesting to me because you had them scoring points. You had them getting two big defensive plays to change that game against Andy Dalton and the Saints. And then I also liked in the second half, after those two pick sixes at the end of the second quarter changed the game, the way that every time the Saints showed signs of life, the Arizona offense said, no, let's chill out. This game's over. It was over then, and it's still over. And that was the final score, 42-34, with some lipstick on the pig to make it look that close. So the Cardinals may be coming out of their funk, maybe a team that's ready to make a statement against a 5-1 Minnesota squad that, record aside, is a little more vulnerable. I like this setup. And I put a lot on Cliff and Kyler to seize on this moment, to kind of get their season really on track if they can get this win. But they've let us down many times in the past when we thought they were in a good spot to make a big statement.
They also have a couple of offensive line injuries that are very concerning. Rodney Hudson's been out. We know they lost Justin Pugh. I noticed Beachum was out of practice. That makes me worried, but I think they're making up for it with the design runs for Kyler Murray. It is funny that Kyler Murray told the broadcast crew 2 weeks ago, I think I'm going to start running again. Like almost like he's the coach, and then he has, and it's totally transformed their offense.
There's no more Cardinals experience to me than them having finally the offensive output and the kind of game that we were hoping. That DeAndre Hopkins had a lot to do with that. But it nestled around Kyler Murray shouting at Cliff Kingsbury. Like, there is a weirdness to the makeup of this team in so many different ways. That said, I think that the DeAndre Hopkins thing is a week-to-week gain for them. I think that the way they used him all over the place last week, and if you get Robbie Anderson up to speed here, and at some point you get Hollywood Brown back and Rondale Moore, I kind of just like the weapons around Kyler Murray more than the one thing is, and I don't like to do this too much, but if you look at their schedule down the stretch, they played the easier part of their schedule. It is brutal. They're going to have to be about as organized as possible.
Yeah, I don't love them in this spot. I trust the Vikings more. You're right about DeAndre moving around, like the next gen stats route charts kings, like Josh Norris, who loves sending those out. Notice how they were using them a lot more creatively. I was trying to figure out, how are the Vikings 5-1? Just did a little deep dive at all their different numbers.
They won 5 games and lost 1.
And I did find something interesting. Every single bit of their profile, passing, rushing, no matter what analytics it is, all screams average, middle of the pack, except for one thing. They are number 1 in the league in field position when they get the ball, and number 1 in the league in opponent's field position when the opponent gets the ball. So they're like the 85 Bears in field position. Get your tickets Sunday.
If you're 85 Bears in field position and you have Justin Jefferson, in this landscape, it's going to lead to a lot of W's. And to that point, Mark, you said, and this isn't coming at you on your analysis, which is well studied, as we know. I've heard this passed around with different teams this week, like, oh, this team has the hardest schedule as the season. Oh, this team has the easiest schedule. It's like all these teams are basically the same. So I look at the Cardinals schedule, and it's like, after this week, Seattle, okay. At Rams, all right. Home against San Francisco, okay. The Chargers, okay.
Well, I think
a bye. Then
Seattle
the
and 49ers is not. No,
I'm not saying
they're all in the middle stew.
But it's not
I agree.
It's not a gauntlet.
Well, there is no NFL season
that's
like
what
that
I'm
right
saying.
now. Right, but
That's what I'm
then
saying.
I think the Cardinals, to me, are where I can see it with the Niners. I can see it with Seattle. I have no idea what the Cardinals are going to be week to week. I think their defense has gotten better and better. That's probably what they can hang their hats on.
Upward trajectory.
The fact that they are 3-4 is a good thing because they have been pretty bad for most of the year. And if they could find a way to clean some things up, again, in a very huge middle class of the NFL, that will get them back to the playoffs.
Rise and shine with GMFB.
Let's bring it to town.
Oh, I love football. Get your morning started with football, friends, and a whole lot of fun. Boom, it clicked.
See you tomorrow, fam.
Good Morning Football, Monday at 7 on NFL Network.
Take me up into the stratosphere.
I remember the day you asked, "What now, Dad?" So I said, find a job, any job, work hard. That's just how it is. But of course, you didn't listen. You showed me there's another way. I'm proud of you.
I'll be back in a sec. We can't wait forever. All your nacho fries, please.
Can't be mad. We got you nacho fries.
Made with Mexican spices. Made for nacho cheese sauce. Only at Taco Bell.
Wherever we come from, we all have one thing in common. We all want the incredible new iPhone 14 Pro. Now at T-Mobile. T-Mobile gives you Apple TV Plus included. So watch your favorite Apple originals on iPhone's most advanced display ever. Get iPhone 14 Pro on us with Apple TV Plus included. Now at T-Mobile.
Where there's a pet, there's always this. That's why we have innovations like the Maytag Pet Pro Laundry Pair. So you and your favorite sweater can forget all about those hairy situations. Shop Maytag and more exclusive out-of-the-blue innovations at Lowe's.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Today at 9, we sit down with Kirk Cousins to discuss the Vikings' hot start.
You like that?
Plus, our crew gets in the Halloween spirit to preview Sunday's slate.
They are for real.
NFL Game Day morning, today at 9 on NFL Network.
Is incredible.
We are on the field, in the huddle, and under the helmet.
Bricks another tackle. Touchdown.
Download the NFL app today.
Welcome to Around the NFL, presented by Barefoot Wines. Let's move to Snake. Oh, it really, the AFC East was run by the Patriots for so long, boys. And, we were talking about Monday night. When
Did you watch the game on Monday?
Yes, Bill, I definitely did. We all did. On Monday night, the Chicago Bears were up 33-14 inside the 5-yard line with a chance to get a 40-burger. And you had both Manning brothers on the Manning cast saying, do it, do it, do it. And it made me think back to last year when the Jets had a rookie quarterback go out of a game with an injury to his knee, and it was a young Jets team, not very talent-rich and certainly no experience. And the Patriots ran up to score on the Jets, 54-13 in that game at Foxborough. And after the game, the Jets players are unhappy about it. Richard Seymour, in some fakakta Patriots celebration at halftime, called the Jets. This is a perfect time for the celebration. The Jets are our homecoming game. And that's why the Jets should remember what happened last year when they faced New England. Because for the first time, even though the Jets now, 8 games in a row, have been underdogs in Vegas every week, they're again an underdog in this game. I'm not saying the Jets are going to be in position to do what the Bears did last week because, I don't know, that was kind of a weird little funky game. And I don't expect New England to give effort and performance that bad again. But the Jets have such a great opportunity here, even with the injuries, which everyone knows that listens to the show, and I was in some mourning, the timing of it, and I was upset about how the Breece Hall injury and Vera Tucker kind of, to me, lowers their ceiling. I still think they absolutely can make another huge statement internally in their building in terms of moving forward into a new era by beating the Patriots at home. I think it'll be very disappointing if they don't find a way. They do need Mark. They do need Zach Wilson to play better, and that's the one thing that I'm holding my breath on because they need him now, especially now you lose a superstar potential type guy in Breece Hall the way he was starting to come into form. You need the quarterback to give you more. He's given you nothing the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you see little things with Zach Wilson, but that we just on our network show, they showed the highlight of him figure-8ing like twice away
he does
from
that stuff a lot.
Right, and he seems to walk into a worse situations, and then he'll throw the ball into another zip code. It just it gets a little chaotic for my liking with Zach Wilson. I mean, and really what they were hoping was that you surround Zach Wilson with the Breece Hall part of the offense and you have that ground game. I don't know if James Robinson's going to – I'm not sure James Robinson's 100% healthy. Like, they talked about him having a knee in Jacksonville before.
Well, he seemed to indicate that the team almost put that on him because they didn't want to play him because they knew he was going to.
Man, he's treated weird down there.
And the Jets, get a look at the medicals before that deal. I think Michael Carter's the guy, by the way.
Right. I think Carter's still legit. I mean, when it comes to the Jets, I mean, I kind of love their season and they're enjoyable to watch. But they have benefited by playing Jacoby Brissett. Kenny Pickett early on in his starting days here, Skylar Thompson, Brett Ripien, and they've done a good job against those quarterbacks.
Only the second starting quarterback they played this year.
They also beat Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, you got to factor that in. I just think this is whenever it's Bill Belichick and the Jets, who seems to especially dislike the Jets for reasons that I think go beyond just the fact that they're a division opponent. He loves stamping the Jets, and he's going to want to do it again. But this would be a huge, I think, psychological win for the Jets, no matter what's going on.
Thank you, Mark. Psychological. It would be such a lift for the entire organization to kind of put the Patriots in their rearview mirror and say, we are the team that should be viewed as chasing the Bills. That's not the Patriots.
Right. This is a chance to really bury the Patriots at 3-5. It's a huge playoff race type of game. I think the Jets at 5-2 are obviously playoff contenders, and it's a home division game against the team that's last place in your division. It's a great spot. Like that 50 burger the Patriots put on them a year ago were when they were in similar spots. The Patriots were 2-4 going into that game. Like, people thought the Patriots season was over, and I think there's a feeling in New England it's like that now, that the sky is falling. Belichick does tend to bring out his best stuff after a disaster against the Jets and against bad quarterbacks. And right now, I think you look at the last 2 weeks, and Zach Wilson's one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league. I think that's unquestionable. And it's amazing they're winning these games like this. They'll need more from him. He showed something in his first 2 starts, I thought. He was making most of the right reads, but he's looked pretty lost the last 2 weeks, especially last week, against a great defense ultimately. Mac Jones has looked lost too, and Mac Jones is fully expected to start this game. All the drama from a week ago we think is going to end because the reporting has been Mac Jones will start, that he's taking all the practice snaps. But he reportedly took all the practice snaps a week ago too, and they still pulled them. So I never put it past Belichick, who won't confirm it publicly beyond that Mac Jones is ready to play this game. But it's a huge, huge game for Mac Jones in his career.
Yeah,
he needs to put sort of what's happened behind him a little bit, because it is very uncomfortable there.
You're almost glad it's not in New England.
I was going to say it's perfect because the Patriots and Belichick have no fear going to the Meadowlands, and you get him out of that really unhealthy environment in New England where, and this is not me taking shots at the Patriots fans. It's going to sound like it, but it's like 20 years builds in entitlement in a franchise and a fan base, and they're expecting every quarterback to be Tom Brady now. And if Mac Jones isn't immediately giving them what they want, they're going to assume the backup, like the 6th-round pick in 2001, should be the guy that plays. Like that's just like it's still a transition period for that fan base. So to get him kind of out of that world and let him just play on the road against the Jets, and it should be said that the Jets lost 2 major pieces of their offense, but their defense is still intact, and I expect them to get after Mac Jones.
Biggest Patriots-Jets game since their playoff tussle, I'd say.
Well, the Jets have been
for
pretty
for Jets
terrible.
fans, maybe.
Yes.
For Jets fans.
No, everyone else
years.
forgets the Fitzmagic year, and it's understandable.
All
but
right.
they had they're a big game.
You're right.
Too.
I disregard that season as fraudulent, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think the Jets will get after, and Mac Jones has not looked comfortable under pressure this year. He hasn't looked like the same quarterback. They're running a lot of vertical routes for him.
Don't you think they kind of used different plays with Zappy than for him too?
It's strange, and their best player on offense might be center David Andrews, who really runs all those protections, and he suffered a concussion.
Yeah. Mark, it's back to you.
All right, I'm going to go Steelers at Eagles. First of all, I never buy into this battle for Pennsylvania business. I don't understand it. I don't think that
I bought into the battle for Ohio.
Well, they're division
for
opponents.
Night.
I don't think that the Eagles and Steelers fans walk around for the next 3 years
kidding.
talking about this.
I don't buy into the other one either.
Yeah, just the way they sell some of these games.
Yeah.
I understand. I get it. I mean, I'll play ball with it.
You don't even have to.
I'm not.
You don't have to reference
I'm refusing to.
Yeah, you just ignore it.
I'm refusing to buy into it.
But you kind of have by bringing it up.
You're right. I've fallen for my own tricks. Eagles, I think, are just so interesting to watch and so complete. They just traded for Robert Quinn. That's such the most Eagles thing ever. I mean, there's no weakness on this team that I can point to.
I'm bored.
I mean, that's a big move.
It is a big move. I'm kind of surprised after that Monday night game.
Something new in my life. I'm not in the headlines. Nobody's talking about me. I need to get back in it.
Colleen literally predicted that as Howie Roseman.
Wait, what?
That an undefeated team.
I don't even need anything really right now if you think about it, but I just want to shop.
They don't even need a pass rusher. They're so good at pass rushing.
Such a Howie Roseman thing to do.
That was literally on yesterday's show hours before the trade, and that's what they did. They took a strength and they just added more because what the hell? Why not?
And I mean, you talk about Kenny Pickett. I think it's just been there are things about Kenny Pickett that I like. I like his aggressiveness, but he's been a turnover machine. It's sort of a function of their offense a little bit, but you're going to deal with Darius Slay, with James Bradbury, who we talked about how they terrorized Kirk Cousins in that one Vikings loss. I mean, there's just not a weakness on this Eagles team. I think, if anything, Nick Sirianni has almost gone under the radar as a coach that deserves a lot more credit, because it was a year ago when their offense wasn't working out. Point blank, mid-season, just turns them into a ground-heavy monster that is unstoppable on the ground. They're so much more balanced now. And if you look at the Steelers, they've given up the 3rd most passing yards in the league. Their defense is good by name and reputation only. They're not a very good defense right now. And I don't see how, if you're Philly, with A.J. Brown, with what you've got through the air, that you can't take total advantage of the Steelers' defense. And I don't like it at all for Pittsburgh.
Might get TJ Watt back.
Bloodbath.
Which would be huge.
That would be.
I actually think the Steelers will keep it under the number, just because they have every week. Other than that Bills game, every Steelers game has come down to the last possession. I know in the Browns game they scored a touchdown on the last play, which was one of those fumbles, but that was essentially a one-score game too. They're competitive, and I think they'll be competitive. But I think this Quinn trade is one of the reasons why the Eagles built back their team to a superpower so quickly. It's strength on strength, like you mentioned. They're deep at pass rusher already with Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. It's crazy, and yet you add another one, because I think the analytics department, which Nick Sirianni shouted out by name, as analytics is getting a lot of grief, in the NFL. Nick Sirianni shouted out by name, run by their VP Alec Hallaby. And I think a lot of what these analytics department says, at least for the Eagles, which is clear, is load up on huge guys, load up on your lines, get 8 linemen on both sides, because huge linemen, especially defensive linemen, but offensive linemen too, is like an undervalued resource somehow in the NFL.
Sure.
Guys that can just play 40 snaps. A 4th-round pick for Quinn is awesome.
Howie their ability to cycle in guys and keep players fresh, and all this depth is so incredibly important. You need it because this is a gauntlet this season. So it's a great move, and I love when GMs don't fall in love. I understand the value of a mid-round pick and how teams believe they could find gold with those picks, but How long is Robert Quinn under contract?
This is it.
This is it.
So he gets a compensatory pick.
Yeah, it's
potentially.
It's a potential rental. If it really works out, they could work out a deal to keep him. If he leaves, you get potentially a draft pick. It's just kind of like a no-brainer. And if you're another contender in the league, you're like, damn, the Eagles are doing this. They did that with Gardner Johnson before the season started. And
there may not be another contender in the NFC because you're lucky to be this aggressive in a season where two teams you thought, the Bucs and Packers, would be major factors, are devolving.
Right, and I'll just say my last point on this, Greg, is you had mentioned you think the Steelers are going to hang around this game with the exception of the Buffalo game. Well, I think that there's three teams, Eagles, Chiefs, and Buffalo, that are above everyone else, and I don't think the Steelers, like they couldn't hang with Buffalo, they're going to hang with Philly. On the road, I think they're going to get their doors blown off. I'm laying that wood.
What if you could own a moment? A moment when everything is on the line. I know the moment I'd want. Sunday, January 16th, the playoffs. We couldn't miss. That's a moment I'd like to own forever. Now, you can too. Own the moments that matter. NFL all day.
Energy demands are rising, and the effects are being felt everywhere. That's why at Chevron, we're increasing production in the Permian Basin by 15%, and we're projected to reach 1 million barrels of oil per day by 2025, all while staying on track to reduce our carbon emissions intensity in the area. Because it's only human to tackle the challenges of today to help ensure a brighter tomorrow.
The more you play on my app, the more you earn with Caesar Rewards.
Check it out. I'm going full Caesar.
Let's go.
What's full Caesar?
That's when you place a free bet while eating a Caesar's Rewards meal at a Caesar's Rewards location.
It can get pretty intense. I love it. Look at him.
Now that's going full Caesar.
All right. Well, that's out of nowhere. A bunch of tiny Caesars? Yeah, I think we should eat.
With 7 seconds, maybe you have time for a quick out and then a Hail Mary. He'll throw it, and this will end it. Or will it?
He flips it back outside. Finds an opening. Oh, look out. He's got room. It's a foot race. Touchdown. A miracle. Unimaginable what has taken place. How did it happen?
Bring it. Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure. Yeah. All right. How about some one-on-one? I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
The worst draft ever to have the first overall pick. It truly is.
But we say that every week.
No, it is. The fact that I'm taking Raiders Saints as my next pick.
Woof.
I just am thinking which teams have I watched live. It is a big game for both of these teams. I think they're both a little better than their records. Any hope that these teams have,
it's not a bad game.
You win? No, it's not. Like but I like it too. That's why I'm taking it. But they're combined. Their records are 4-9. So it's like that's sort of where we are with the NFL. That's a good game.
Sure.
Party town versus party town.
Oh, along those lines, this blew my mind. The stat, Greggy. There's only one game in Week 8 with two teams with a winning record. and it's the freaking Giants and the Seahawks.
My number one overall pick.
That was also true a week ago, I think.
So, okay, that makes more sense.
But just think about it. If somebody would have told you that back in the summer, by week 8, there's only one game with 2 winning teams, and it's the Giants and Seahawks. This has been a weird, funky, freaky season.
For these 2 teams, I think especially. The Raiders are arguably one of the best offenses in the league. I mean, they've scored 33 a game the last 3. They're running the ball fantastic. I think Derek Carr's making great decisions, and they're going up against a bad defense. You got to call the Saints that at this point. For all the talk about like losing Sean Payton, their numbers offensively in every respect are considerably better than they were a year ago, like by a lot. They're like top 5 or 6 in yards per play and points per drive and all this stuff. And their defense is right near the bottom at all those. They're not making big plays. They're giving up big plays defensively. They're still without Marshawn Lattimore. I was thinking maybe with the extra days, with the, they call it the mini bye for the Saints, they'd get healthier, but Michael Thomas still out of practice. Jarvis Landry's still out of practice. Lattimore's still out of practice. And the defense hasn't shown enough to me that they're like going to keep the Raiders under 30. So can the offense score over 30 with Andy Dalton as their quarterback? I think they have a chance, but it's just like that's a lot to ask.
They have a chance. I mean, I know that the Las Vegas, their record has them in a dark place right now, but they're one team that I kind of think can get back into this thing. I like this matchup for them. The Saints have the 31st scoring defense. They have the most giveaways in the NFL on offense, and they were run on by Eno Benjamin a week ago against Arizona. Josh Jacobs has 441 yards and 6 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Derek Carr is in a better situation with the way they're playing right now on a run-heavy offense. He's thrown 1 interception since week 2. That's the issue when Derek Carr was throwing picks in that week 1 game, but just in general, when you get that with Derek Carr, you're killing chances. But he's making throws, and they are able to their line had like 9 combinations.
Is he going to do what
I'm not going to do it because I would.
Is he going to do what they think we're going to do?
No, it's just way too strange of a matchup to lock either one without being called a psycho. So I'm not going to do that. But I think that the team I believe in more is the Raiders to get back into it in the AFC and be a factor down the stretch.
I already flipped my pick for this game. I picked the Saints initially. Just felt like they're going to get back in this spot.
What's your daughter say about that?
And then I looked at that injury report and I was too freaked out. Dennis Allen. Here's where they missed Sean Payton, is that they no longer have Dennis Allen as their defensive coordinator. And I just think he was a good coordinator. And he's not a good head coach, apparently. And
Peter
the defense
principle.
has fallen apart.
It's going to be the very Raiders thing when Josh Jacobs gets a contract extension in December.
And then never does this again.
Well, just to go from the decline of the 5th-year rookie deal to the extension. I'm looking forward to that.
Fantasy heads are already freaking out about him being overdrafted next summer.
We should mention...
Well, that's their business, Mark.
That's ridiculous.
I'm saying that they're saying don't do that. They're trying to give good advice.
But who cares about next year's draft? Should
Are
you
people
trade
really
him now?
talking about that?
I have monitored that on Twitter, that a lot of Josh Jacobs' responses
I think the
don't
bigger
fall for
question
this
is,
next
like,
year.
do you trade him now at his peak? And I would say no. I think this is sustainable. Oh, it's me again. It's the Dolphins. It's the Lions. Oof. I think I've watched every single Lions game this year live. I'm sorry. It's just like not much out there. And I do find this Dolphins team very compelling, even if the Lions are less compelling, I would say, right now. Teron Armstead has really meant everything to them. When Teron Armstead plays, they protect their quarterback. And they look better. And I know they struggled in the final 3 quarters a week ago. And I don't think this is as easy a matchup as it would have been before the bye. I think they came out of their bye with better energy. They played great in terms of their energy on defense a week ago. It wasn't on them. They were flying around. Hutchinson had his best game. Josh Paschal, who was a second-round pick, returned from IR, played great. Okudah played great. And so I don't just hand this to the Dolphins. I don't think they're going to put up 35. I think those days, at least against the Lions, might be over.
I wouldn't hand it to the Dolphins either. I mean, if starting with Miami's secondary, which is real banged up. You lost Brandon Jones a week ago at safety. Xavier Howard, I don't think has looked like himself for much of the year. Byron Jones, Nick Needham banged up. So you can pass. I mean, we've seen. I think maybe the early part of the season with Detroit's offense was a bit of a aberration. I'm not sure that's really who they are on a week.
But they get DeAndre Swift back.
That would matter a lot.
Looks like it.
He's practicing. He practiced last week too, and did not play. So I'm assuming we do get him back, and I think that's sort of the beating heart of their offense. So that's good for Detroit.
Anybody absolutely hate Tua's game against
He had
Steelers.
4 turnover-worthy. He's so lucky in some of these games he doesn't have 3 picks.
He really is. They're the Jimmy G comparisons. I think it was our guest, Steve Palazzolo, who I heard make it first early. There's a lot of Jimmy G to him.
And
I know it's the same offense, but there's a lot of Jimmy G.
And he certainly deserves some rope here because of the layoff and obviously the nature of the injury. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I just got to do it again because I know that statistically certain players, it all makes sense. Like, oh, this is working. The Miami offense is working. But you take out the week 2 fourth quarter, and these are their points by week. 20, 21, 15, 17, 16, 16.
There's some defensive scores in there, too.
Yeah.
There's a couple in there.
You'd have to say, though, in another universe, like Tyreek Hill's not working out at all, and there's a big problem there.
Right, but that's
he
kind
is
of my
working.
point.
That's the offense. The windows he's throwing into are huge, but they'll probably be huge this week. He does do certain things well. He gets rid of the ball. You'd like him to be more accurate than he was a week
I would have
ago.
to guess.
Your point, it wasn't a strong game.
I'd have to guess, and I haven't looked at it. Maybe Gravedigger, you could check it out, that both Waddle and Hill are on pace to go over like 1,200 yards receiving.
And Hill like about 1,800
Yeah, he might
yards.
be. Well, yeah, I'm sure he's way over that. I was kind of low barring it there. But so the numbers are there when you looked at, these two guys, watch out. But they're just not scoring enough points. And I think this is a good matchup for the Miami Dolphins. But with the Lions, did they peak early offensively? Probably. But they're healthier now. Is DeAndre Swift in this game?
We think he's practicing.
We think so.
Yeah.
I do worry about Jared Goff, though, against this blitz-heavy defense who can do some similar things to what the Patriots did to them.
Yeah, let's find a way, Detroit, team of ATL, to get off the mat here and get a win just to kind of pump some vibes into that building. At 1-5, it has been a very, very bad start for them. And I just can't, quite frankly, I can't deal with another Sunday night flagship program where we're listening to Dan Campbell. And we heard
tough.
him.
Yeah.
Well, that's up to us. We could just take him out of the show,
but
although we've established a precedent. Yeah.
They're the team of ATN. He's good. He's good copy. He's good sound. And we just tapped into his damn phone line, and we heard the conversation with Joe Shane of the Giants.
Yes, that's right.
So there's a lot of things going on here.
A little concerned about
Well,
him.
maybe like since we only had that tap working, it ran out. It only worked on Wednesday.
Sure.
Maybe he will make that trade.
Is that how phone tapping works?
Well,
It just
you have
runs
to
out?
apply for it. Yeah, I mean, it's like,
You can only listen for X amount of time.
I've watched The Wire, so I'm an expert here. And, you have to apply for a certain amount of time, and then it runs out.
The NFL debuts in Germany. Brady and the Bucks.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
DK and the Seahawks.
Making the catch.
Live from Munich. Sunday, November 13th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Only on NFL Network.
I got into debt in college, and no matter how much I paid, it followed me everywhere. So I consolidated it into a low-rate personal loan from SoFi.
Get a personal loan with no fees, low fixed rates, and borrow up to $100K. SoFi, get your money right.
Jameson, a smooth triple distilled whiskey, knows when people
Guess you really had to be there.
just get you. That's when this spark just